Jeff Bezos doubled down on his decision to not endorse Kamala Harris through the Washington Post after 200,000 subscribers flee. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Amazon owner, Washington Post owner, many businesses owner Jeff Bezos doubling down on his decision to not endorse Kamala Harris through the Washington Post after 200,000 subscribers flee the paper. And I think these are all online subscriptions. Now, last I checked, Washington Post, that's $20 a month for subscribers online. So 200,000 times $20, you got quite a few millions of dollars. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to just show you an article right here to give you the headline, a little bit of context. Over 200,000 subscribers flee Washington Post after Bezos blocks Harris endorsement. Now, let me be clear. Jeff Bezos does not want to endorse any candidate at all in the paper because he says it kind of ruins the integrity of it. It makes them look biased. And the people already don't trust the mainstream media. So doing things like endorsing Kamala through the Washington Post just kind of keeps that whole thing going. People don't like it. Now, on the flip side, if you don't endorse Kamala, that's a bad thing too to some people because you got those who have left. But the integrity of the paper is the most important thing. Okay, that is the most important. That's what he's worried about. And to me, that makes sense. Now, internally, the Washington Post were going to endorse Kamala. Jeff Bezos stepped in and said, nope, we're not going to do that. That caused problems. People quit, all kind of stuff. All right. Now, here is an op-ed that he wrote. I won't read this entire thing, but it's a pretty short read. You see the headline, The Hard Truth. Americans don't trust the news media. That is the headline. And that's the most important takeaway from this whole thing. He was talking about how Americans don't trust the media. And there's a poll that came out and it's asking Americans, who do you trust the least, basically, or the most, the least, whatever. Now, normally Congress comes in dead last, and right next to that is the mainstream media, right above it. But now mainstream media is ranking even lower than Congress. That's how much the American people do not trust them. Now, there's a lot more we got to get into. We got editors leaving. We got the mainstream media themselves giving their 2 cents on it. But first, a word from our sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Kalshi. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market in the United States of America. The federal government approved Kalshi to offer a brand new class called event contracts, which allows you to take positions on the outcome of future events, like the election coming up right now, 2024, November the 5th. Do you know about politics? Do you know about economics? Put your knowledge to the test by placing the trade today. Kalshi is known for providing accurate forecasts of the aforementioned future events. Now, look, we're going to go straight to Kalshi right now and take a gander at the odds. Do you see the odds right here? Look at this. 63% in favor of Trump, 37% in favor of Kamala. Who's going to win the presidential election? Who do y'all think is going to win? Now, look, check it out. What I'm going to do is place a trade right now. It's super easy. Now, look, we're going to go yes on Trump winning the election. Okay, look, easy. And then we're going to bet a certain amount of money. So right now it's at 0. Let's go $100. And you can see what the payout is going to be if we win, when we win, because we know Kamala is terrible. Now look at that. You go from 100 to 156. That's a pretty decent payout. Now you want to bet more, you want to bet less, whatever. Let's place a trade right now. Easy. Boom. And it's done. Just like that. Kalshi has already facilitated over 1 billion in trades and counting. The election markets, they're live right now. We just saw it on the screen. Sign up today using the link in the description. You can be part of something that was last mainstream and legal in the USA back in 1924. So sign up to Kalshi today and make your first trade today using a link in the description, kalshi.com/Anthony Bryan. And we're back. Let's go to CNBC and see what they say. You know, I like CNBC sometimes. Andrew Ross Sorkin, he's okay. He has good takes occasionally. Let's see what they say about this whole kerfuffle, shall we?
About the Washington Post, actually from NPR, saying that more than 200,000 people end up canceling their digital subscriptions to the Washington Post following the paper's decision, which of course is owned by Jeff Bezos, to block an endorsement of Vice President Harris for president. It's about 8% of the paper's paid circulation. This was according to...
That's a pretty big chunk, 8%. That's a pretty big chunk. But Jeff Bezos, I mean, this is a multi-billionaire. I don't think he really cares. His thing is about integrity, which, hey, man, hats off to you for that.
People who were briefed on this that told NPR this in an opinion piece that's got a lot of people talking this morning that was posted last night. Jeff Bezos saying that presidential endorsements do nothing, he says, to tip the scales of an election. Rather, he said they create a perception of bias and non-independence. He said the decision not to endorse a candidate was a step in the right direction to regain Americans' lost trust in the news media. He did acknowledge that the late timing was not ideal, commenting that it was, in his words, because of inadequate planning and not some intentional strategy.
Yeah, that was part of the op-ed. He was like, well, maybe we should have done it earlier as far as announcing that there wouldn't be an endorsement, because there was already an endorsement planned internally at the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos catches wind of it and puts a kibosh on it and says, no, we're not going to do that. So then that created problems internally, and it created a sense of you're trying to sabotage the election. That's kind of what it did. But really, he's saying it's not like that. I just needed to do this because the people don't trust us. We're losing integrity, and ultimately we're going to fade into obscurity because we're not going to have any viewers if we're going to keep this model of reporting up.
In the essay, Bezos talks about his other business interests, writing, when it comes to the appearance of a conflict, I am not an ideal owner of the Post. He notes his companies, of course, including Amazon and Blue Origin, often interact with government officials. He writes, quote, you can see my wealth and business interests as a bulwark against intimidation, or you can see them as a web of conflicting interests. Only my own principles can tip the balance from one to the other. I assure you that my views here are, in fact, principled, and I believe my track record as owner of the Post since 2013 backs this up.
Now, look, you guys got to read the op-ed because it was a lot of gems in there, and sometimes it's good to hear from a guy who is successful as Jeff Bezos is. It's good to hear from him because you can learn a lot.
Members of the paper's editorial board have resigned in protest after the decision, though my understanding is they are still employees of the Post. Interestingly, they're just not on the quote-unquote board.
That's funny. That's funny because remember, it was reported that you had people resigning, quitting the Post. I'm done. I hate Jeff Bezos. He's spineless. Okay, you want to do all that, but all you did was just leave the board, but you're still getting the paycheck from this bad, evil guy. You see how that works? It's so silly. People are funny.
It's really too soon to tell. I mean, we're right in the middle of an election where there is such high emotions and fever pitch that every single thing that breaks seems to be the eternal crisis. But, you know, the issue in the media industry is so large that I suspect that this will move out of the news pretty quickly because we're in for a bloodbath in a few days. And I think that is going to consume the public. And I think in most crisis situations, what comes down to is what you're competing with. And
they go that bloodbath word, but they won't say that he said anything that was threatening because he does not appear to be a conservative person. Maybe I'm incorrect about that. But obviously, bloodbath is not talking about violence. It's talking about, hey, come election time, is going to be a whole lot going on. It's going to be kind of a cluster, regardless of how it goes. I think we all know who's going to win, and that's President Donald Trump. We all know that. But when Trump wins, the left's going to be upset. If by some miracle Kamala was to win, which it ain't going to happen, then you're going to have someone on the right that will be upset, but it won't be anything like the left. Nothing at all. All right. So you see, you get the general idea of what's going on. Jeff Bezos says, hey, we got to bring integrity back to the newsroom. We got to regain the trust of the American people, because I'm willing to bet it's not just me. It's the majority of you guys out there as well. We don't trust the media. We look at television, we read newspapers, and if it's Washington Post, Huffington Post, New York Times, MS-13 DNC, the Coming News Network, you see, we got little nicknames for these people. we view them a certain way. Our default is to not trust the media, to research, verify on our own. And going back to the op-ed, he was saying people are going to podcasts and social media memes that are unverified for their news because they don't trust us. And that's a problem because you got a lot of fake information out there. There's a lot of fake stuff out there, but as I close, I want to say this. Yes, there's quite a bit of fake information on social media and podcasts, conspiracy theories or whatever, but the same thing can be said about the mainstream media. Remember the Hunter Biden laptop? It was the podcast. It was social media who said that story was legitimate. But what did the media say? Oh, it's fake, Russian misinformation. 51 intelligence officers, former, current, or whatever, came out and said that it's fake. The government put the censorship on the tape. You couldn't even post on social media. You couldn't even post real information. The mainstream media were backing the government up, saying that it was fake. There's countless stories like that. And the reason why these things happen is because of the bias, because of how connected mainstream media and politics are. I'll give you an example as I close and put the bow on top. Karine Jean-Pierre at one point was married to Suzanne Malveaux. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre, that's the White House press secretary, and Suzanne Malveaux is over at CNN, or at least she was at CNN. There's quite a few relationships just like that in mainstream media and government, to the point where it's the same. They're biased. They have an agenda, which is why we go to alternative sources for our news. So if you want to regain our trust, mainstream media doing what Jeff Bezos did will be a step in the right direction. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts on this whole situation? Jeff Bezos, Washington Post, etc. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This was the right move, a step in the right direction, but let's keep it up. Let's keep going. Let's not just have it be this, and let's not just have it be Washington Post. Let's let it be all throughout mainstream media so they can become factual again, so they can become non-biased again. We got to go back to that, because if we don't, we're in for a serious problem in this country with how information is spread. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.